Oh, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Let's play chess. I'll play a game in 5 minutes per side per game. A game in 5 minutes per side. Do this. Okay. Fine. I'm glad I played a very accurate game. My opponent was almost in the 80s with his her or they accuracy. And let's review this game. I felt it was a strong game, a close game, and that I played well, even under time pressure. I had the black pieces, and I played Queen's Pawn opening. My opponent played e3, and I played c5 to get at the center immediately. After b3, I captured towards the center. Just solid, lasting positional gain right here on move 4. And the queen's forced to recapture on d4. Then knight c6 develops a minor piece with tempo, we thought. But my opponent had something else in mind with bishop b5. So queen a5 check is the right move, and the block with the knight is the great right move. Black plays e6, making an avenue for the dark squared bishop to develop, and this does hem in black's light squared bishop on c8 or d7. And so what? Because this bishop is going to be needed in most cases, this bishop will be needed on d7 to help protect the knight on c6. So he's doing fine on d7 is the point. And if he's technically a bad bishop, he's still doing fine. So as that relative advantage becomes true for black, my opponent times this capture on c6 really well. Bishop takes c6 check, b takes c6, and when we look at this board, it's about even. I'm interested that the evaluation bar has this about a half a pawn better for black. Not against it, but I'm looking that white has the lead in development. Central queen, who is, well, okay, maybe safe, and maybe not after moves like bishop to c5 or pawn to c5. Black has to be a little careful about the g7 square, and has a really awesomely placed queen for now. If white wants to spend a tempo of initiative to move bishop to d2, then black will probably have to retreat in some manner. So it's a game, you know, we're off to a game. It's only move 7. Bishop b2, so as a for white, maybe bishop d2 is a little bit stronger with the potential of discovered attack against black's queen. On the other hand, bishop b2 brings its own conundrums and difficulties for black. Now there are 2 pieces eyeing the g7 square, and in some cases that's important. Yeah, but not in this case. With the idea here by black being knight f6, that's it cuts it out. No one's gonna sacrifice their queen on f6 in a position like this. It doesn't call for it, and would lose white the game. So blocking these diagonal ideas was one of the main reasons behind knight f6 at that time. Could have gone more aggressive with moves like bishop b4, c5, and other moves. Bishop a6. Maybe catch white sleeping if I want to trade on e2. White will have to recapture with his king. My opponent did not fall for that. Another piece develops tempo. Or is there another piece? Yeah, well, for the whole game, another piece develops with tempo, right? D4, whatever. Anyway, bishop c5 develops black's dark square bishop with tempo. Queen moves in a really interesting and challenging move, finding best move again. That's great. And queen to b6 was not the top move here, so let's take a look at what was. Trading on a4 considered a little bit better. I'm pretty sure knight a4, knight takes a4 after. And where to place the dark squared, where black wants to place his dark squared bishop becomes an issue of the day. On e7 we protect against there being any double pawns on f6. d6 just a good all-around square to quarterback some of the attacks and defenses. It's right here in the middle of the board. And b6 is like trade knight for bishop, trade knight for bishop, trade knight for bishop. And if white does that, then black will centralize the a7 pawn and have a little bit of an ally for his rook on a8. Honestly, out of all those things, doubled pawns on the f-file is the most long-lasting, enduring weakness that could occur. So I'll probably be playing bishop e7 in a lot of circumstances. But we're not there yet. Instead, I played. Oh, wait, let's actually. No, okay. I'm not sure what I was going to investigate. Queen to b6. Knight to d4. Trading seems erases these two inaccuracies out of these 11, 12, and 13. The 11th, 12th, and 13th move by black contain two mistakes and an inaccuracy. So I'll look at this on my own. Queen to b6. I'm aware of the complexity. Let's take a look. Queen f4. So queen to f4. I think I would probably trade off my light square bishop. I don't know. It's a game. It's tough to say. My opponent played knight to d4, and I was ready to trade off my dark square bishop. Now the game is more dominated by major pieces. Rooks are going to look for open and half-open files, and minor pieces will look to harass major pieces to gain tempo or even material. Harass isn't the right word. Just attack them. The minor pieces are going to attack major pieces to gain tempo and or material. Rook to b4. That's a good move. Queen to c5 finds one of the only two good moves in response. It was either bishop b5 or queen to c5. And I'm glad I found it with queen to c5. And then, yes, this happens, guys. Sometimes we get all excited. Rook to a8 rook to b8 might be coming with the discovered attack against the queen, x-raying all the way to f8, and there's some versions where even a rook captures on f8. Except that I think black is doing really well after queen takes c3. It's just a mistake. That's a blunder that happens. You leave this piece undefended. But it's not all over for white either. White's going to make black calculate well. After queen takes a6, queen to a1 check forces the king to d2, so absolute force. And here, as black, I'm saying I can stand to remove my queen from the action for a little bit because white's attack isn't quite ready yet. My king has enough safety. There's enough king safety for black that the rook on h1 is worth it. We're going to pick up that rook and then try to move back into the action of the game really soon. And taking advantage of queen takes c6. One of the correct moves is rook at f to c8. You know, I couldn't tell for the life of me whether it should be the rook at a or the rook at f. And I said I'm going to step out of the potential discovered attack on f8. Force my opponent's queen to move. And now there's squares on white side of the board, which in some situations might become attacked two at a time, two major pieces at a time, and so it's looking really good for black now. And this was also part of it. Rook out of the way of discovered attack and everything, great. The queen's got to move, great. And I saw as far as knight e4 check with the fork. My opponent played, I think, immediately, or almost immediately, rook takes e3, dousing the fire with a exchange sacrifice. I was party to it, part for the rook, and also part for the threat, part for the threat, rook to d8, and white will lose his queen. And here with white to move, whoever thought of, I don't know, my opponent I think is sort of making a statement with pawn to c4. That move, on the other hand, maybe looking for some kind of desperate promotion attempt. Rook to d8, queen takes d8, rook takes d8, I should say. Rook to d8, queen takes d8 check, rook takes d8 check, and now it's all about clock here for black. So we're gonna make moves, make pre-moves. Entire sequences of moves are made in advance to suit shaping the board so that it's clear enough for a pre-move checkmate. For instance, rook to d3 doesn't do anything all that great except forces open the e file. And when you're in this kind of mode, you don't really necessarily say, well, hey, I could have just moved the f pawn up. When you're hurried like this, that's not on your mind. You're thinking, now he's gonna pick up the exchange sacrifice, and once I move my queen, I can move her to safety and start pushing these pawns on the e file. That's exactly what happened. Here I played queen to b6. It's a little bit like maybe there's even a checkmate there. I know, you half know that the a4 square is available for white to flee, but that's not all that bad either, because then I just kept my e pawn rolling and rolling and rolling. Once the queens link up in open space, it looks like there's going to be a checkmate after queen to e1. So queen to e1 checkmate. Alright, that was a good game. It was a fun game. Came down to the time pressure, but I enjoyed playing it anyway. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Gravitrons. I'm more gravity. Have a great night.